Orbiters are a lot like pets. You gotta feed them, or they get angry. Today we're gonna be going over how to make murals in your orbiter. And we're gonna break down all the different ways that you could make them, approximately how much plot it would cost you, and the type of challenges and a little bit of tips and tricks that you could use when you're putting together your murals. So let's get into it. The mural we're looking at right here, I'm using landscape displays to put this together, and it's 3 high, so 1, 2, 3, and then 4 across, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So in total, these are 12 landscape displays, all costing 15 plat apiece. And I make sure that when you do this, it's highly recommended that you resize these to the largest scale that you can, because if you don't, like somebody that tried to do this that I spoke to wound up using squares instead of landscape displays, and they wound up using 33 of them. That's almost 2 extra times the amount of platinum that I spent on this display, or this mural, which the whole thing was that at 180 platinum for this entire mural. And for those of you that, when I show you guys the other murals and you say, oh, I can't make platinum, there are loads of plat videos on my channel. I have a whole playlist for it. And if you binge that playlist, even just listen to it like a podcast while you play the game, and then watch the parts of the videos that you don't understand, like when you hear me talking about something you don't get, you're going to get so good at making platinum, your head's going to spin with all the plat you're going to be sitting on. So that being said, let's get into some of the other murals. This one was really, I'll kind of go into a little bit of the challenges that I had with this one. This is the first big mural that I put together. So tips and tricks and all that sort of stuff. When you're putting these murals together, you're going to find that a lot of times they're not necessarily, this thing is chiming on me, they're not necessarily going to look like one piece, like one solid piece. They might start tiling on you. And today, when we were making the murals that I did earlier today, which is actually this. You guys, I spent a while on stream showing everybody, or just putting these murals together and asking for opinions and everything like that. But this is what we came up with. When I was building this, I noticed that this side started tiling a lot, and I couldn't figure out why until I did figure out why. So what was happening is let's say we're going to come in here and edit this. You see how this says flip horizontally and this says flip vertically? Well, what I was doing was I was copying these. I was hitting like the F button, I was grabbing a copy of it, and then I was laying another one down. And for some reason, do you see how this display is upside down? Right? For some reason, sometimes it was giving me these displays when I copied them from it in like an order that wasn't whatever this is, the flip horizontally and the flip vertically. Like sometimes maybe it was like this was on and this was off. That was the issue. The issue was things were tiling because of flip horizontally and flip vertically. So once I realized that, I was able to get everything lined up and everything just kind of came together. Another tip about going through this, when you are trying to line up an image, like let's say I have 2 displays like sitting next to each other, and I want to get this image to like I guess line up in the right spot. You have 2 options. One option is you come in here and you mess around with these. I'm just going to duplicate one of these right here. I'm going to grab this, and here, you know what? I could do it here. So we're going to grab this, and I'm going to add an extra 5, whatever number. Let me do it like this. I'll make this really big here. Let's say I'll set this to Zephyr, something like this. Now, let's say I had another one above her that I want to line it up with, but it's like off by a little bit. So the vertical and the horizontal offset, whatever is off by a little bit, I can go 5 or I can go 9. I could literally just whatever number I need to add, and it'll work an extra 2 times. So if I go like 5 and then 2, like barely, it's not really moving up and down, but the left and right probably would. So let's jump into this one. So I'll do like 5 and then 9, and it moved again. I don't know if you could tell, but we'll do it again. 5 and 9. And you see it's like moving just ever so slightly. So that's one way that you could adjust this. The other way that you could wind up adjusting these is with constrained movement. So with constrained movement, we're going to hit the R key right here. And you can see right here that there's an x-axis, a y-axis, and a z-axis represented by the green, the blue, and the red lines. Now, this is super important to understand. At the very center of this axis is like an invisible point. And this invisible point, I guess according to the way they built their system, imagine it as like a solid. This solid will not go through a lot of things. But what you can do is you can transform with the Z button. If you look in the bottom right, I'm going to hit Z and transform goes from local to world. And that moves these around. And a lot of times what happens is let's say I'm trying to maybe move something downwards. And then it gets stuck and it doesn't go down any further. If I transform into local, and then I make sure I hit the right axis, now it's not the F key anymore, it's the X one. But then I try to move it down more, then it tends to work a lot more often. But just keep in mind that even if you do get stuck and it doesn't work, like I was getting stuck with things over here, you can still get it to go. You're just going to have to find like, I don't know, you're going to have to like shimmy it around a little bit, like maybe move it over to the right or the left a little bit and then try to move it down. Like you have to mess with it a little bit, but just know that this constrained movement and the transform tool is probably the most useful thing that you're going to be using when you're setting any of these murals up. So when it came to building this, what I wound up using was landscape displays for this as well. And I typically use those because they're the largest things that you have. They take up the most surface area, which is going to save you a lot more plat just using basic landscape displays. Except for up here, I used one landscape display here, another one here, and then I used a square. So the squares are the same height as landscape displays, but they're not the same width. So the height's lined up, but as you can see, it only goes that far because I didn't need it to go any further. Plus, I already had an extra 2 of these square displays, so I didn't want to spend more platinum than I needed to on more landscapes when I still had these squares left over. But that's how I managed to stretch this out. Also, again, I resized them so they're as large as they could possibly be. And then the other thing is, too, is this display right here, if I can get it to click, this is called a convex display. And basically what the thing is it curves. As you can see here, it has like a curve to it. I wouldn't use this for a mural, but what I'm doing is because this is curved anyway, I'm using it for this piece here because I guess if you can kind of see what I'm saying, this part of the orbiter kind of curves up anyway. So, and I thought that would look better. So that's what I'm using for those. Don't have to use them. But one issue that I found was when you are turning things sideways like this, like up and down instead of left and right with how this, the length of this display is, you can't turn the picture inside the display, unfortunately. So I kind of just tried to find a color that was close to the top here for you know, me building this mural that's right here, and just kind of go with that. So that's just another idea that you guys can use as far as that goes. Now with this one, I know I actually kind of measured it out. I could have went with one landscape and one square, but I already had the landscapes and I didn't have enough squares to go from top to bottom, so I didn't bother with doing that. But this image right here, I just kind of want to show you this. If I go into this image, and it always resets, I don't know why it does that, but I can tell you that this image right here is at least I think it's 3.7 is what I moved this bar all the way up to. So I sized the image to 3.7, every one of these blocks, and that's what got this image to fit here, in the way that it's fitting here. So that was that one. This image, I'm pretty sure I just maxed all the way out. So this is actually all the way to 4.0 as far as the scale size of the image. This cavat right here is actually connected to the image. It just kind of worked out, and I just left it as it is, and I like it that way. Here's like a pattern design idea as far as the murals goes. So this is all a single landscape display. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for up here, we have the convex ones. So 5 and 6. So in total, we got 15, 30, 60 plat, 90 plat. So this cubby right here is about 90 plat. For this wall right here, if you guys are wondering, this is 1, 2, 3 by another 3. So that's what, another 90 plat. And then this is kind of the same thing. It's 90 plat plus another 15. So 105. But you don't have to do this. As you guys saw earlier, I was kind of stuck on making that decision as to, do I want the mural to go from here to here, or do I want to put a doorway in here and then not see the edges? And honestly, I think I'm happier with this, because I wasn't really going to be super happy seeing the edges. So even though that would have been an easier mural, I wouldn't have a doorway. I'd have to walk through the picture every single time, which you can do, by the way, if you didn't know. When you make these murals, you can just walk right through these displays. They're not going to like stop you from coming in and out of rooms here, or anywhere you hang them up. Same thing with this lotus picture here, which this is another video that I'll leave in the description for you guys to find as far as how to decorate your arsenal if you're not looking to do a mural, but you want to do something else. But back to this. I really just used the same picture and I flipped it with the horizontal and vertical flips in those settings. I also changed each one of the colors so that if we look at this, the image filter is burn. If we look at this one, the image, that's not what I wanted. If we look at this one, the image filter is cross process. So they're all different basically. And this is actually something interesting. So this color right here was burn, but I already used burn, right? But you can see burn and burn. They're not the same tone if you look really closely. So how did I do that? Well, what I did was, and this, by the way, too, you guys keep seeing me do this, right? Basically why this is happening is because I'm not actually selecting the image. And if you look now, there's that red line that's going across the display right there. That means that I'm actually selecting it, and now when I press the 2 button, it's going to take me into this. So if that keeps happening, it's like you kind of got to grab the edges of your displays, because every time I try to grab the middle, it's like the game doesn't know it's there, so I have to find an edge if I'm messing with displays, which can get a little difficult if you're hiding your edges in the corner like over here. But regardless, I'm going to find the edge, going to click 2. So I did color correction over here, and I like adjusted it. I didn't actually type all 4 numbers here. I just kind of messed with it, and it kind of just, I don't know. Their system's weird, and it reset itself. So all these things that I just went over right here, this should really be enough for you guys to kind of understand how to set this up. If you're having issues, remember, with like the tiling happening, then it might be the fact that something is not flipped the same way as, you know, the other thing that you're trying to set it up against. And yeah, hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you have any questions, I'm live every day on Twitch. You can come stop by and ask there. I'll do my best to help you out if you're stuck on anything. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all in the next one.